Okay, Paul, take it away and I'll get are you ready for me to start sharing the PowerPoint?
Yeah, let's just start showing pictures here.
Okay, give me a
A
sec
usual
here.
set of pictures, and then we'll see if people are talkative tonight.
Okay, it is this
I'd
one.
rather watch pictures.
Now.
Okay, and now I'll put it in presentation mode. The last night I figured out how to do this better. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is that the first one? That's the first one, right?
Yep, that's the first one.
Okay, go ahead.
And for those of you who are not ardent fans of Calvin and Hobbes, in this particular one, the little boy on the ground is an imitation Calvin that Calvin and Hobbes have built to do all his chores and be well behaved, so that the real Calvin can go ahead being the troublemaker he is. And so you could see that he has
A mixed feeling about it.
I really like it because I just wanted to start with a kind of recapitulation of what virtue is. And we often say virtue is its own reward and it brings the truest and highest pleasure. But I think the theologians would say to us, if we only cultivated virtue because the pleasure it gives us, then we are being selfish, not virtuous. And therefore we'll never gain the pleasure because we never really have the virtue. So I don't know what that means, you can't win, but I just wanted to start off with that.
Well, that to me is similar to anytime you think you're getting good at humility.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the same idea. Okay, well, our official subject tonight is courage or fortitude, two closely related words. And I think I don't know the distinction is important, but because I'm going to kind of use them interchangeably, I thought I'd better at least explain what's implied in this is that fortitude and courage are distinguishable in that fortitude is the mental or emotional strength that enables courage in the face of adversity. Courage does not mean you are not afraid. It means you are willing to face the challenges that lay ahead of you, regardless of your fear. And so we have a couple more Calvin's and Hobbes cartoons. Give us the next one here. I just, it's hard to feel courageous sometimes. Not recommending that everybody go to bed without pajamas on, but, you might want to consider it as a moral approach to life. And one more that's just another joke about courage, which I'll let you read. It doesn't prove anything, but I couldn't resist sharing it with you. Can everybody read it okay?
Can you zoom in, Maria?
Yeah, sorry.
Glasses on.
Let me
Just leave it in that frame all the time. We don't need to see the next one up right away.
Oh, is that what it's showing you? I didn't know that because I'm using an external monitor. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, enough of comics. Just to recapitulate, courage comes from the Latin word for heart, cor. And so I was tempted to bring in the song "You Gotta Have Heart," but that's a pretty old song, and I might be the only one that recognized it. So anyway, once again, give me the next slide now.
Well, wait, so let me understand this. So it said that like fortitude is the mental.
If you want to make the distinction, fortitude and courage are distinguishable in that fortitude is the mental or emotional strength that enables courage.
So enables you to stand
Courage is something you act out. Fortitude is the mental state that makes your courage possible.
Okay. But then courage comes from the word heart, which is more of a mental.
Well, it depends. I don't know whether I think that the words are virtually synonymous, but the more reading I did, the more I saw that it was kind of leaping back and forth, and I just wanted to confess my uncertainty myself about, exactly what is being implied in the cardinal virtue. Sometimes you see a list that it says courage is one of the cardinal virtues. Sometimes you see a list that it says fortitude is one of the cardinal virtues. And there seems to be uncertainty about terminology. That's all I wanted to convey.
Okay, awesome.
Well, courage can be a name, and as always, you discover things you didn't know. I was not aware that there was a whole series of comic books and TV shows about Courage, the Cowardly Dog, but I couldn't resist. I've never heard or seen Courage. Any of the rest of you familiar with this cartoon?
No, but it looks great.
Yeah, it does. The cowardly dog named Courage. I love it.
Okay, and not surprisingly, there are lots of things that use Courage as a brand name. Give me the next one. You're going to have to taper it down a little so they can see everything. So in the upper left corner,
Oops.
there's Courage vitamins. And in the lower right corner is liquid Courage. So I was surprised to find out that's a brand of coffee.
Yeah.
Since I've usually heard of liquid Courage as applying to whiskey. And not surprisingly, there is a brand of whiskey known Courage whiskey. I thought the most interesting one is the black one there. If you can't quite pick it out, Courage is a line of lingerie. And I have to ask, I won't ask whether any of you buy Courage lingerie. Have you ever even heard of Courage lingerie?
Mm-hmm.
And why is Courage a good name for lingerie? You guys can think about it and explain it later. And then last but not least, much again to my amazement, there is a kind of guitar, which is known as a Courage guitar. And I don't know that it's actually all that different from other guitars, except for the decoration on it. Apparently if you can see that kind of circle around the bottom of it, of carving, that's supposed to denote courage. And I think maybe it's a Maori symbol.
A what?
Maori, the indigenous people of New Zealand, the Maori, M-A-O-R.
Oh, okay.
Okay, give me the next slide.
Whoops. Come on.
There we go.
I think that was
Yeah, I
actually a
think it's
ukulele.
Pardon?
I think that was actually a ukulele. It's only 4 strings.
Oh, well, maybe, whatever. It was advertised as a Courage guitar. Maybe a 4-string guitar is a Courage guitar. I don't know.
You
don't
have great eyesight.
Anyway, this one here, obviously courage is a military virtue. If you're going to blow them up, blow up the Congressional Medal of Honor first. I think you all recognize it, but certainly in terms of American symbolism, the Congressional Medal of Honor is celebrated and a familiar sight. And the next one, show me the Spartan army there. I think everybody recognizes that. Presumably, this is the Spartan army about to face death at the Battle of Marathon. No, at Thermopylae, right? The pass at Thermopylae. As you know, the Spartans were thought of as the most courageous and most powerful warriors of the ancient world, and they were noted for their courage. And there are lots of kind of courage-related anecdotes. I'll just tell you two, just because I think they're so wonderful to convey courage and how deeply instilled in the culture it was. As you can see, the shields are very big, and they're too big to run with. And so it's said that when a young Spartan man went off to battle the first time, it would be his mother who would hand him the shield, saying to him, "Come back with your shield or on it." Death before dishonor. And the other,
That's
The- the
powerful.
yes, it's a real maternal devotion, I guess we'll say. And the other famous story about them, I don't know how much of kind of classical history you ever had to study, but there's a a famous battle where they're holding the Persian army is invading Greece, and they have to pass through a pass at Thermopylae that can be guarded by a single troop of men in a line like this. And they're outnumbered. In Herodotus, they're outnumbered something like 200,000 to 30 or something like that. But whatever, the battle really happened, and they did make a kind of heroic. Of course, Texans. I realize I should have had a picture of the Alamo. Suddenly it dawns on me here.
Yeah.
This is sort of the classical version of the Alamo, that the Spartans are lined up guarding this pass, and they know they're going to die. They're going to fight to the last man to buy time for the Greeks to organize behind them. And the Persian emperor comes forward, Darius comes forward, and he says, "You guys should surrender. You haven't got a chance." He says, "I have so many archers in my army that when they fire their arrows, the arrows will blot out the sun." And the Spartans wait for a second, and then the Spartan king sends back the message, "Good, it will be more comfortable to fight in the shade." And then give me the last one here.
Can I-
Wait,
can I
wait,
add
wait. So
something? Can
Go
I
ahead.
add something about
Yeah.
Thermopylae? I grew up in Texas.
Ah, yes. Okay, I knew it was going to come up.
Our school books, we would get these covers that you were supposed to put on your school books, to cover them up and protect the covers. And the cover had Thermopylae had its messenger of defeat, the Alamo had none.
Yes, I'm sorry. I owe a deep apology to all Texans present.
So the Spartans were Greeks?
Pardon?
Yes,
the
yes,
Spartans
they
were
were.
Greek
Athens
warriors?
and Sparta were the two big Greek city-states.
There was a movie called The 300 that was really
Yes.
pretty good. It was
Yeah.
a pretty good movie.
Yeah, and I think this is actually an advertisement from that movie, actually.
Okay.
Ah. Okay.
All right, we'll blow up the other one there just so they can see it a little bit better. Take it down a little side. I want to see the text. Yeah, a little more so they can see the fish shaking. And this is not in the realm of mythology. This is a cartoon by the British cartoonist David Lowe, and it was published in his newspaper the day after the evacuation of Dunkirk, when it was clear that England was going to stand alone against the German army and a united continent. And it's just a famous, a British soldier shaking his fist at the sky with the stormy waves splashing against the island. And he said, "Very well, then we will carry on alone." So this has come to symbolize British bravery during the Battle of Britain, when for a whole year England stood alone, resisting Hitler. And so it has a really powerful historical resonance. Okay, give me the next set.
Which one do you want me to blow up first?
Oh, the one you've got lit up, the three men there.
There we go.
Thank you. That's neat. I didn't know you could do that. This is actually, I realize I've got two paintings by Jacques-Louis David here. This is a painting by David, I think printed around 1790 during the French Revolution. The French, in the late 18th century, there was a great fascination in the Western world with the Roman tradition. That's why we have a Senate. The United States has a Senate, and our capital is called the Capitol after the capital in Rome. And this is a kind of celebration of Roman courage. This is called the Oath of the Horatii. And it's just a famous story, kind of almost the prehistory of Rome, where they're being attacked by a foreign army. And the older father is handing the swords to his sons, saying, "Go out there and stop the enemy. And, don't come back. Stop the enemy at all costs, even if you all die." And there are the women, accepting this order from the Father to the sons. And of course, they do go out, and I'll spare you the rest of the story. It's a great story, but it's a kind of I call this civic virtue because they're defending the Roman Republic against an invading army of kings. Okay, next one. Give me Socrates now.
Something went
Well,
wrong.
Paul and I were struggling with. I thought this was the picture of Jesus. We were very confused last night till we looked at them. We were organizing these photos.
Put it on top so everybody can see it. Great. Again, this is another Jacques-Louis David painting, and some of you will recognize it. And this is probably the ultimate epitomization of civic courage as opposed to military courage. This, if you remember that Socrates, the great Athenian philosopher, had offended so many people in Athens that in the end they said, either commit suicide or leave town. So faced with this choice, Socrates committed suicide rather than abandon his city, that he wanted to die obedient to his fellow citizens because their judgment was supreme. And here you see the painting of the famous, he's about to drink a cup of hemlock. And that's why hemlock is still thought of as a kind of poison. So
Why did he make him so mad?
I don't know. I suppose there's a lot in Plato. Plato is mainly Socratic dialogues, and he was accused of impiety, but really he was a man who questioned everything, and that gets on people's nerves. So he was accused of encouraging young people to lose faith in the gods, which he denied. But once he was convicted of the crime, he accepted the judgment of his peers. And
Was this pre-Christ? This was,
Pardon?
right? Was this
Yeah.
pre-Jesus?
Oh, yeah, this is about 400 BC.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, he's not a martyr, or he's a martyr to civic virtue, but not. And the last one is again a famous picture. This is by Delacroix. It was painted in 1830, right after the event. There was a French Revolution in 1830, where the people of Paris rose up in revolt against the King of France at that time, I think Charles X, if I remember correctly. And obviously, this is a mythical representation of the barricades in the streets. And in the background there, you can see Notre Dame shrouded by smoke because so much of the city is burning. And it represents the French Republic being born again in the face of monarchical despotism. So on the left, you see a worker, and in the middle, you see a guy in a top hat who represents the middle class. And this is liberty, the same figure that is our Statue of Liberty, sort of carrying the tricolor of revolution, again, in kind of courageous defense of the Republic, of civic virtue.
What's
Okay.
the significance of her boobs hanging out?
I'm not a good enough art historian. Maybe he was just a voyeur, but I doubt it. There's probably more to it than that.
I think it was more the kind of the classical style that got popular, and when you think about classical statues and things, they tended to have drapery, but often drapery that didn't cover everything. So I think she was kind of I don't know if this woman was called, but France is often portrayed as somebody named Mary Ann.
Yeah, this is Mary Ann is, if you look back in the days when there was still French money, Mary Ann was always on the coin. The same way liberty is sometimes on the American coin. Like
Okay.
okay. Next one, can you size it down just a little so people can see it fully?
Good.
So this is the classical symbol of courage or fortitude. It's a woman, remember all the virtues are portrayed as women, but she's holding a shield and has a sword or a weapon of war in her other hand. And this is the way traditionally in classical Greece and Rome, fortitude was portrayed as one of the basic virtues. But obviously the biblical tradition also celebrates fortitude. I was just going to read you 2 or 3 passages in Isaiah. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. In Proverbs, the wicked flee, though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. That's both Old Testament, obviously. And from Corinthians, this is St. Paul, be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. So clearly it became a Christian or Hebraic tradition as well. And I always like to give you the official Episcopal definition. This is from the Episcopal definition of the Church. Courage is the perfection of the will in terms of being neither timid nor foolhardy, but holding steadfast to what needs to be done. Okay, and if you'll give me the next slide.
Wait, I want to think about that for a minute. So courage is essentially being steadfast to do what needs to be done, not being foolish or timid, but
Don't be
doing.
foolhardy, don't be cowardly, be just right, but don't be afraid to do, or be afraid, but go ahead and do what has to be done if it makes sense. So you see how it intersects with prudence, for example.
Uh-huh.
Temperance, halfway between foolhardiness and foolish
Yeah,
brave.
yeah.
Cowardice.
I like
That's
that.
where the fortitude comes in.
Yeah. All right, give me the next one. So here you see the beginnings of a Christian influence. Although actually it's really drawing on the Old Testament. This is a kind of traditional Christian way of symbolizing her. She's still a woman who holds a sword and a shield, but she also holds a tower, or not a tower, a piling, I guess you'd call it. And can anybody guess what that's supposed to symbolize? Little biblical reference here. This is supposed to represent Solomon having pulled down the temple on his head, making sort of combining the classical virtue
Mean
with
Samson?
Yeah, say
You mean Samson?
not Samson, sorry, Samson. Thank you very much.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay, and I have a couple more religious ones.
Wait, so Samson pulled down the temple on his head? This one I don't know. It makes more sense that it's in that it was Samson. What book of the Bible is that in?
Well, you're not asking the right person. Here, where is Samson?
I don't know what book it, but Samson and Delilah,
Yeah.
she cut his hair off, and I think they even blinded him.
That's
Yeah,
right. They
And
blinded him.
he was
and
blind,
imprisoned him,
yeah.
and his hair grew back.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that from the Bible. I actually got that from the movie. Victor Mature. And that was a long time ago. I can't remember what I read 5 minutes ago, but a movie that I saw 60 years ago, I can tell you about.
I think it's Victor Mature, is the actor's.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, it's in there somewhere. That's all I can
I
say.
just looked it up, and it's in Judges,
Judges.
the book
Okay.
of Judges.
Okay.
Anyway, he's the
And,
big
and
hero.
Delilah was a Philistine who bribed to entrap Samson, coaxed him into revealing the secret of his strength, which was his long hair.
All right.
This is a story that was much in use in the early 60s when young men were starting to grow their hair long and their parents were objecting to long hair, and they could cite scripture in defense of their decision about how to manage their hair. Not very successfully in most cases, but at least the argument was there. Okay, give me two more. So a good example, a painting representing courage, but not military courage. This is obvious. Really, I think it's pretty obvious that it's Daniel in the lion's den. And then last, the greatest show of courage, which I think requires, this is obviously Jesus awaiting his crucifixion and going through with something he didn't have to do, but that he could have said no, I guess is what but he had the courage to go on and make the sacrifice that had to be made. So I couldn't think of a better symbol of courage. Okay, that's it for the pictures. So why don't you put us back up here and we'll.
Thank you, Paul. Those were awesome.
Yeah.
It took a lot of time to hunt all those up. Those are very good.
Yeah, thank you. I won't say I'm sorry this is the last one. I've spent a lot of time over the last 5 weeks looking for pictures, if nothing else.
Well, you did a great job.
Okay, so it's time for us to talk about this now. And, I like to come up with something that I think we can, that allows us to reflect on what we understand courage to be and to recognize it when we see it. So I would like everybody, I'll go first just to kind of get things started, but I thought it would be fun to hear from each of you to think about an act of courage, what seems like courage to you. It doesn't have to be physical courage, but moral courage is fine too. That you think it was an act of courage that you've observed in someone else. I didn't want to ask anybody when they felt they'd been courageous. For one thing, there wouldn't be a time for me. But I think we've all seen courage elsewhere, either in public life or in private life. And so I thought it'd be a way of getting at what do you understand